good evening. Well, it's almost 3 in the morning as I'm recording this. We can call it the evening though. Hope you guys are enjoying the new mic. It's awesome. I love it. Big fan. Hopefully the quality upgrade is noticeable. I've been able to streamline the process a little bit, and I can now use this standalone mic with just my phone. So this is wonderful and allows me to record at higher quality no matter where I am, which is a huge deal. I live a fairly mobile life and I do a lot of driving, so I'm rambling, so I digress. But yeah, anyway, I'm an audio nerd, so I'm geeking out over this new mic. So today I want to talk about something that struck me like lightning a few days ago. I wasn't even thinking about anything related. I was pulling up to Popeyes to get some lunch. I was not thinking in any spiritual or esoteric way. And I just wasn't in that mindset at all. I was in the opposite mindset. I was just getting some lunch, okay? That's the backdrop for this latest act of this play that we are living in. Shakespeare really was right when he said that the world is a stage. So I'm pulling up to Popeyes and I get struck with this unbelievable realization. And that realization is, well, it concerns the Holy Spirit. So let's talk about this. So the big question about the Holy Spirit, from my experience, this probably has a lot to do with my upbringing, etc., etc. But from my understanding, the big debate about the Holy Spirit is it an entity or is it not? I was personally raised to believe that it is not its own entity and it is more of an essence or a type of power of God. But I realized that there are many verses that seem to point to it being an entity, point to it, conversing, speaking, conveying a message. And I realized that it is potentially very dangerous to say that it is not an entity and more of an essence or a spirit of God, or a power of God or something, because by doing so, if it is an entity, not only have you stolen its identity and denied the existence of an entire third of the Godhead, but when you call it a power of God that God uses to exercise his will here on earth through us humans, his tools, you suddenly take the credit from this entity and you give it to yourself. Even if you sit there and say, it is God working through me look at me, I'm giving the credit to God, I'm being so humble. That's not necessarily the case, especially if it is an entity and you're literally stealing its identity and denying its existence, which becomes a salvational issue. So this is really heavy. This is super heavy. And anyone who was raised in any sect of the Christian faith knows what I'm talking about. And, I've lived for a couple years now. They've been pretty long. And I really kind of accepted what I was taught up until this point for a while now. But I am suddenly sitting here wondering if maybe I was being taught incorrectly this entire time about a huge, huge, huge issue that is actually salvational. Because if you put yourself in the mindset that God no longer works with prophets like he did in the Old Testament, or even in the New Testament, or in biblical times at all, if there are no more prophets and God doesn't work that way anymore, I guess what I'm saying is to believe that or to say that is very arrogant, and it shortens the hand of God. And it assumes that we have way more context than we do, and way more understanding than we do. And so if you put yourself in the mindset that, God's people, God's chosen people, his prophets, his scribes, those are a thing of the past. Like, God's people don't hear voices in their head. And if you do, it's not the Holy Spirit. To believe that in such a way that it's just the cold hard truth that cannot be denied, this is dangerous if it's wrong. And that's why it's so heavy, because if it's right, it's a great way to keep yourself, keep your mental and spiritual defenses up. But it turns out, if it's wrong, then it's the hubris and pride and arrogance of this example is repeated throughout the Bible, but the one that comes to mind first is it's the parable of the two men who go to the temple to pray, and one is a very holy man in robes who is has a high position in the church, and he's been doing this since he was born, and has memorized all the prayers, and he's just the holiest man ever. And the other guy who comes to the temple is poor, hasn't been in the faith very long, doesn't know the prayer very well, he doesn't have good clothes to wear to the temple, and his family doesn't have a good reputation, etc., etc. But that man is the one who truly feels in his heart the desire and zeal to truly understand and know God and actually figure out what it takes to please God, because he's realized that that's the only thing that truly matters. The holy man in robes who was born into the faith, God is not interested in that hubris and that arrogance and that assuming that we know. And it's going to be our undoing. And maybe you are a type of Christian who has never maybe struggled with this question. Maybe it's never occurred to you that it's a big deal. I certainly swallowed what I was taught up until this point for a while now. I'm no spring chicken anymore. So, this is, I keep saying this, there's no better phrase for it. This is really heavy. So, I hope whoever finds this is able to glean something from it. If there's questions, I'm happy to elaborate. Feel free to comment. I appreciate you tuning in. More coming. Stay tuned. I'm working on music as well, so hopefully that pans out here soon. Appreciate you guys. Stay strong. It's gonna get harder, but it's all good. God will not give us any test that we cannot handle. We usually already even have the answer before we have to ask for it too. So, pro tips. But it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna get difficult, but we're gonna band together and we're gonna be strong. Because we're the remnant. We're the last faithful few. We strive to be anyway. Love you guys. Thanks.